Welcome to Giant Ability TV.
It is often said that it is the face of a child that fears the painted dagger, whereas in the real-life situation, fear can be the best safety measure to be taken in the face of dangers. The history of the evolution of Nigeria will be incomplete without giving a prominent place to what I describe as the most unprecedented carnage in Nigeria. It is unfortunate that most Nigerians, especially the youths, have no clue or access to the relevant information from history about the Nigerian Civil War. To show how serious the Nigerian Civil War was seen at the international stage, in 1969, Bruce Mayrock, an American student at Columbia University, set himself on fire in front of the United Nations building in New York in protest for what he believed was a genocide against the nation and people of Biafra, and was pronounced dead the next day. This episode is designed to retrospect on one of General Yakubu Gowon's speeches during the war, which suggests that an end has come to the repetition of civil war or anything close to it in Nigeria.
I do not wish to say anything on this occasion that might be regarded as prejudicial to the peace talks now going on in Kampala, Uganda. But in the words of Mr. Asika, the rebel leaders ought to know when enough is enough. They should call a halt to the shameless deception of innocent Igbos with reports of fictitious victories on the battlefronts. It is sheer wickedness for Ojukwu and his clique to continue to goad innocent citizens to support rebellion and lay down their lives for a cause that is not just. I call on those who claim to love Nigeria and the Igbos to face realities and advise the people of the East Central State to lay down their arms and return to the fold. I honestly believe it is in the true interest of the Igbos that they return to the fatherland. I am satisfied that all other Nigerians have learned the lesson of our most recent history and the current civil war. And I pray to God that there will never be a repetition.
I am satisfied that all other Nigerians have learnt the lessons of our most recent history and the current civil war, and I pray to God that there will never be a repetition. This was the hope and aspiration of the then head of state, who did all he could to keep Nigeria as one. The four major and interdependent problems during the First Republic, which include ethnic and tribal animosity, desperate political struggles to be in control of government at all costs, widespread corruption, and economic breakdown, are still the same problems hindering the progress, peace, and prosperity of Nigeria. For the reason of power grabbing and control, it has been difficult to conduct free and credible elections in Nigeria. The 1964 elections were marred with rigging and violence, and this created discontentment among the elites, especially those of the western and eastern regions, who saw the re-elections of Tafawa Balewa, the then prime minister, who was a northern Hausa Fulani Muslim, as the plot to have the northerners dominate the other regions and remain in power perpetually. Consequently, a group of Igbo army officers led by Chukwuma Kaduna Nzogo staged a revolutionary coup in 1966 that left the Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa, the Premier of the Northern Region, Sir Ahmadu Bello, and the Premier of the Western Region, Samuel Akintola, dead. Recall that the army officers who carried out the coup were mostly Igbos and Christians of the Eastern Region. The Premier of the Eastern Region, Michael Okpara, escaped, and the then President of the Republic, Nnamdi Azikiwe, having traveled out of the country on holiday, also escaped being killed. The Northerners concluded that the coup was ethnically motivated. In trying to bring the bloody and anarchical situation in the country under control, General Agunyi Ironsi stepped up and became the head of state, but failed to punish the army officers who initiated the earlier coup. He immediately suspended the constitution and turned the country into a unitary state for ease of control and administration. The Northerners, rather than being pacified, became more agitated and aggressive by killing the Igbos who were living in the north, making them to flee to the east for protection. The northern reactions reached a climax when a group of Northern Army officers staged a coup that led to the assassination of the head of state, Agunyi Ironsi. And in 1967, General Yakubu Gowon, a Northerner, was made the head of state. Unfortunately, the Northerners' retaliation would not end there. In the 3 months following the coup, an estimated 30,000 Igbos living in the north were tortured, maimed, and killed. Fearing for their lives, nearly 1 million Igbos fled to their homeland.
I have said, there is nobody from the southeast that I know who does not feel that the way that people from the southeast are treated today. That's why I brought back what happened immediately after the Civil War. Treated today. Do not feel that there is something fundamentally wrong, which should be resolved. And unless it's resolved, you will always have this.
This is where I come in. Born in the Agwan Fulani side of Zaria and raised at number 15 Yoruba Street, Shobongari, Zaria. In those days, life was good and Nigerians were very loving and kind to one another. That was when the saying in our national anthem, that tribe and tongue may differ, but in brotherhood we are one, was practicable and of truth. Aged around 5 then, living with mom and my younger brother Jide, now late. On one colorful Sunday afternoon and on our way back from First Baptist Church on Benin Street, ignorant that all the described above was going on, as we approached home, suddenly there was an uproar, and before we knew it, there were mobs who were houses carrying cutlasses, knives, and other types of weapons, chanting Araba, Araba, meaning divide, divide. I suppose divide the country, Nigeria. Then the killings began, several of which I witnessed with my eyes. The trauma has not left me till today, especially when I have flashbacks. Entering the house, surprisingly 2 men and a woman who were Igbos were already hiding under my mom's bed. To them, there was just a step between life and death. The rule of engagement outside for the Igbos was that if they could find their ways to the railway stations, that made them free from being a target for killing. The means devised was that the Igbos would have to dress in Yoruba attires for them to make their way to the railway station possible. While those that escaped were under the bed, my role was to help in taking out their urines and stools for disposal. This experience indeed was, to say the least, traumatic, and I pray not to ever have it again in life. On a final note, with the volatile condition of Nigeria and with almost every region of the country agitating for self-determination, is it possible for General Yakubu Gowon, retired, who is still alive by the grace of God today, to beat his chest before Nigerians and take pride in forcefully bringing the Biafra self-determination agitators to their knees? The conquest that leaves behind no regret is the one over ignorance. Are Nigerians the masters or slaves of their history, who have learnt nothing but have forgotten everything from the experience of the Civil War? This is food for thought.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to all our social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.